"Sir, you need to leave. Now." The words sliced through the graduation ceremony like a combat knife. All eyes turned to see two security guards confronting a decorated black Marine. His son's Navy graduation was about to become a battlefield. Gunnery Sergeant Marcus Carter, 58, stood rigid, his weathered face betraying no emotion as the security guards approached. 28 years in the Marine Corps had taught him to control his reactions, even when ambushed. His dress blues fit perfectly despite his retirement 3 years ago, ribbons and medals telling a silent story of sacrifice across 3 continents. He'd arrived 90 minutes early, wanting the perfect seat to watch his son Jason follow the Carter family's military legacy. 4th generation military. 1st generation Navy. The pride nearly overwhelmed him. "Sir, we've received complaints about you. I need to see your invitation," the first guard demanded, loud enough for nearby families to hear. Marcus calmly reached into his breast pocket, producing the gold-trimmed invitation. "My son is Lieutenant Jason Carter. Graduating with honors today." The second guard barely glanced at it. "Anyone could print this. We need official ID and base clearance." Marcus produced his veteran ID and visitor's pass, approved weeks ago. The guards exchanged glances. "There must be some mistake," the first guard said, voice dropping. "Someone reported an unauthorized individual. Said you were making them uncomfortable." The implication hung in the air. Marcus understood immediately. He'd faced this before, the assumption that a black man in uniform must be out of place, must be pretending. "No mistake," Marcus replied, voice level but carrying the authority of someone who'd commanded men in combat. "I'm exactly where I should be." Families nearby began watching the exchange. Some looked uncomfortable, others curious. A few veterans in the crowd recognized the Purple Heart and Bronze Star among Marcus's decorations, their expressions darkening at the guards' continued harassment. "Sir, we're going to need you to come with us until we can verify your identity," the guard insisted, reaching for Marcus's arm. Marcus didn't move. "Touch me, and we'll have a problem." The guard's radio crackled. Situation in Section C, possible unauthorized access. Subject uncooperative. Marcus's son Jason, standing with other graduates nearby, noticed the commotion. His face paled, then hardened as he recognized what was happening. The same thing that had happened too many times before. "That's my father," Jason said, taking a step forward before his commanding officer held him back. "Wait," the officer whispered. "Watch." The first guard's hand moved to his belt. Not toward his weapon, but close enough to send a message. "Sir, this is your final warning. Come with us now or we'll have to escort you out forcibly." Marcus didn't raise his voice when he replied. He didn't need to. "I've faced enemy fire in 3 combat zones defending this country. I won't be removed from my son's graduation because someone feels uncomfortable with my presence." A woman nearby gasped. A man in civilian clothes shook his head in disgust, though whether at Marcus or the guards wasn't clear. The second guard stepped closer. "Sir, we don't care about your claimed military service. We have protocols." "Claimed?" The word hung in the air like an unexploded ordnance. Jason broke free from his commanding officer, striding forward in his perfectly pressed dress whites. "What's happening here?" His voice carried the same commanding tone as his father's. "Lieutenant Carter, return to your position," barked his commanding officer, following close behind. The first guard turned to Jason. "Sir, this man is being removed for security concerns. Please step back." Jason's face flushed with anger. "This man is Gunnery Sergeant Marcus Carter, Purple Heart recipient, my father, and the reason I'm standing here today." The crowd's murmurs grew louder. Phones appeared, recording the confrontation. The guards looked increasingly uncomfortable but didn't back down. "We have our orders," the first guard insisted. "Someone needs to come with us until their identity is verified." That's when it happened. From the back of the ceremony space, 4 men stood up simultaneously. They weren't in uniform, but they didn't need to be. Their bearing, their build, their focused intensity marked them clearly as military, specifically, Navy SEALs. They didn't rush forward. They didn't shout. They simply stood, eyes locked on the confrontation, a silent wall of solidarity. The guards noticed. Everyone noticed. "We have a situation," the second guard whispered into his radio. Marcus remained perfectly still, his eyes never leaving the guards. But something had shifted in the atmosphere. The balance of power had tilted. Jason's commanding officer stepped forward. "Is there a problem with one of my officer candidates' family members?" The 4 SEALs began moving forward, not rushing, but with deliberate purpose. The crowd parted instinctively. These weren't just any SEALs, they were Jason's training officers, men who had pushed him to his limits during BUD/S training. Commander Richards, the lead SEAL instructor, spoke first. His voice was calm but carried an unmistakable edge. "You might want to reconsider your approach, gentlemen." The guards shifted nervously. The first one straightened his posture. "Sir, we're following protocol based on a security concern." "What security concern would that be?" asked another SEAL, Lieutenant Commander Dawson. "The decorated Marine with proper clearance attending his son's graduation." The second guard's radio crackled again. He listened, then whispered to his partner. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut. "Gunny Carter has more combat hours than half this room combined," Commander Richards continued, using Marcus's Marine Corps title with deliberate respect. "I'd think carefully about your next move." Families were openly staring now. Some had recognized the SEALs, instructors were legends on base. Others simply sensed the power dynamics shifting. Marcus hadn't moved, hadn't spoken. His discipline was absolute. But his eyes, they told a different story. Not fear, not even anger anymore. Just deep, profound disappointment. Jason stood beside his father now, Naval Academy ring catching the light as his hands clenched into fists. "We're just doing our job," the first guard insisted, but his confidence was clearly wavering. "So were a lot of people throughout history," replied the third SEAL, Master Chief Peterson, his voice carrying the weight of historical context that everyone present understood immediately. The fourth SEAL, Lieutenant Rodriguez, stepped closer. "I trained with Gunny Carter in joint exercises back in '08. Saved my life in Fallujah. You're questioning the wrong man's right to be here." The guards looked at each other, uncertain. This had escalated beyond what they'd anticipated. The crowd was watching. Recording. Judging. "We need to verify," the first guard began. He was interrupted by a commanding voice from the ceremony entrance. "What the hell is going on here?" Captain James Morrison, the base commander, strode down the center aisle, his face a thundercloud of barely contained fury. The guards snapped to attention. "Sir, we were responding to a security concern about an unauthorized—" "I know exactly who Gunnery Sergeant Carter is," the commander cut him off. "The question is, why don't you?" Captain Morrison's arrival silenced the murmuring crowd. A 30-year Navy veteran himself, the base commander had seen enough racial incidents in his career to recognize one immediately. "Stand down," he ordered the guards, his voice leaving no room for argument. "Return to your posts." Different posts. The guards hesitated only briefly before complying, retreating with stiff backs and red faces. Captain Morrison turned to Marcus, extending his hand. "Gunnery Sergeant Carter, my sincere apologies for this disgraceful incident. Your son's ceremony won't start without you properly seated." The crowd held its breath. The SEALs remained in position, watching. Marcus looked at the offered hand but didn't take it. 28 years of service. 2 Purple Hearts. Bronze Star with Valor. And still, someone had looked at him and decided he didn't belong. "With respect, Captain," Marcus said quietly, "the damage is done. The words landed like artillery shells in the silent room. Not for their volume, but for their truth. Captain Morrison slowly lowered his hand, understanding dawning in his eyes. This wasn't about protocol or quick apologies. This was about dignity repeatedly denied. "Dad," Jason said softly. Marcus turned to his son, really looked at him. In Jason's eyes, he saw the same pain he'd been carrying for decades, the burden of excellence never being enough, of always having to prove you belong. "I'm proud of you, son," Marcus said, his voice steady despite the emotion behind it. "Never forget that." Jason straightened his shoulders, decision made. In one fluid motion, he raised his hand in a perfect salute, to his father, not the base commander. The room fell dead silent. Military protocol dictated that salutes go up the chain of command, not to retired personnel in public settings. But this wasn't about protocol. Marcus's breath caught. For a moment, the decorated Marine who had faced enemy fire without flinching looked close to breaking. Then he returned the salute with precision born of decades of service. Captain Morrison watched the exchange, a complex mix of emotions crossing his face. He didn't interrupt or correct the breach of protocol. Instead, he took a step back, giving father and son this moment. The SEALs straightened their postures simultaneously, a silent acknowledgement of what they were witnessing, not insubordination, but its opposite, the purest form of respect. The silence stretched, heavy with meaning. Then, one by one, other military personnel in the audience, veterans in civilian clothes, active duty in uniform, instructors and officers, stood at attention. Not saluting, as that would violate protocol, but standing. Acknowledging. Marcus Carter had never sought recognition for his service. The Marine Corps had taught him that duty was its own reward. But in this moment, surrounded by this silent show of solidarity, something broke open inside him. His jaw tightened as he fought to maintain composure. 28 years of swallowed indignities, of being the first, or only, black Marine in too many rooms, of excellence as mere survival, it all welled up inside him. Jason lowered his salute, his eyes never leaving his father's. "They tried to tell me I wouldn't make it through BUD/S training," he said, voice steady. "I told them my father was a Marine." A ripple of knowing laughter broke the tension, the eternal friendly rivalry between Navy and Marines providing momentary relief. Commander Richards stepped forward. "Your son broke 3 course records during training, Gunny. Wouldn't quit even when we gave him every reason to." "Sounds like his father," Captain Morrison said, regaining his composure and the room's attention. "I served with Marcus in Operation Iraqi Freedom. When our convoy was ambushed outside Ramadi, he held off insurgents single-handedly while treating 3 wounded Marines. The Corps doesn't make many like him." The revelation rippled through the crowd. The same security guards who had tried to remove him had no idea they were confronting a living legend. Marcus finally spoke, his voice carrying to every corner of the now silent room. "I didn't serve for recognition. I served because this country, despite its flaws, is worth fighting for. Worth believing in." He looked around the room, making eye contact with several faces. "I served so my son could have choices. And he chose to serve too." Captain Morrison nodded slowly, understanding the deeper meaning. Then he made a decision. "Gunnery Sergeant Carter, would you do us the honor of being seated in the front row? The ceremony is about to begin." This time, Marcus nodded. "Thank you, Captain." As he moved toward the front, the crowd parted respectfully. The 4 SEALs fell in beside him, an informal honor guard. The graduation ceremony proceeded with military precision, but something fundamental had changed. Marcus sat front and center, his presence no longer questioned but honored. The security guards had been reassigned, nowhere to be seen. Captain Morrison began the ceremony with unscheduled remarks. "Today we commission these young men and women as officers in the United States Navy. They will serve alongside brothers and sisters from every background, every race, every walk of life. Their success will depend not on where they come from, but on their character, their courage, and their commitment to each other. His eyes found Marcus in the front row. Some of them come from military families with legacies of service stretching back generations. They've learned from childhood what it means to sacrifice for something greater than themselves. The ceremony continued, each graduate receiving their commission with family members invited to pin on their new rank insignia. When Jason's name was called, a special announcement followed. Lieutenant Jason Carter, with honors. Presenting his insignia will be his father, retired Gunnery Sergeant Marcus Carter, United States Marine Corps. Marcus rose, back straight, movements precise as he walked to the stage. The 4 SEALs instructors stood at attention as he passed. Father and son faced each other on stage. Marcus pinned the lieutenant bars on his son's uniform with steady hands that had once carried wounded comrades through gunfire. "I'm proud of you," Marcus whispered. "I stand on your shoulders," Jason replied. When they embraced, the applause was thunderous. As they left the stage, Commander Richards intercepted them. "Lieutenant Carter, your first assignment has been confirmed. SEAL Team 4. Jason's eyes widened. SEAL Team 4 was an elite assignment, rarely given to new officers. "Your performance earned it," Richards added, "but your character sealed it. We need officers who understand what real courage looks like." His eyes flicked meaningfully toward Marcus. Throughout the remainder of the ceremony, other military families sought Marcus out during breaks, some offering quiet words of support, others sharing similar experiences. A few apologized, not for themselves, but for a system that still had far to go. The security company's supervisor appeared briefly, offering a formal apology. Marcus accepted it with grace, but everyone understood, this wasn't about one incident, but about a lifetime of them. By the time the ceremony concluded, what had begun as an act of discrimination had transformed into something unexpected, a moment of reckoning and recognition. As the newly commissioned officers dispersed with their families, Marcus and Jason stood together near the stage. The 4 SEALs approached, each shaking Marcus's hand with genuine respect. "Your son is one of the best we've ever trained," Commander Richards said. "Now I understand why." Captain Morrison joined them, his expression somber. "Gunnery Sergeant, what happened today is unacceptable. I've initiated a full review of security protocols and implicit bias training for all base personnel." Marcus nodded. "It's a start, Captain." "It's not enough," Morrison admitted. "But it's what I can do today. Tomorrow we do more." As they walked toward the parking lot, Jason asked the question that had been hanging between them. "Does it ever get easier, Dad?" Marcus considered his answer carefully. "It shouldn't have to get easier, son. That's the point. Excellence shouldn't be the price of admission. Service shouldn't be the proof of belonging." He paused. But what happened in there, the SEALs standing up, the captain stepping in, all those people recognizing the wrong and trying to make it right, that wouldn't have happened when I was your age. Jason nodded slowly. "Progress. Incremental," Marcus agreed. "But real." A young family approached them, a little boy staring wide-eyed at their uniforms. "Excuse me," the father said. "My son wants to join the Navy someday. Would you mind if he took a picture with you both?" Marcus and Jason exchanged glances, a lifetime of understanding passing between them. "We'd be honored," Marcus replied. As they posed for the photo, Black Marine and Black Navy SEAL standing tall in their different uniforms, Marcus realized something important: today's battle hadn't been fought with bullets, but with dignity. And in its own way, it had been just as significant as any he'd faced in combat. Some victories change the world in ways that can't be measured by territory gained or enemies defeated. If this story moved you, please hit that like button and share it. The respect our military veterans deserve transcends race, politics, and background. Comment respect if you believe in honoring all who serve. Have you witnessed someone standing up against discrimination? Share your story below, your voice matters in this ongoing conversation.